Uzķēršam, preparējam, aizšujam. Tāda ir mediju anatomija.
Pirms dažām nedēļām Latvijas politiķi pieņēma lēmumu no 2026. gada pārtraukt veidot sabiedrisko mediju saturu krievu valodā. Tepat kaimiņos, Igaunijā, pieeja ir gluži pretēja. Igaunijā ir gan sabiedriskais TV, gan radio krievu valodā, un pēc Krievijas iebrukuma Ukrainā šim saturam finansējums palielināts par 2 miljoniem katru gadu. Mediju anatomijas studijā Zane Ozoliņa un šajā raidījumā saruna ar Igaunijas sabiedriskā mediju vadītāju Ēriku Rose.
Russian language channel in Estonia was introduced in 2015 after the annexation of Crimea. Would you recall the discussions beforehand? How do you remember the introduction of this in Estonia?
The discussion about having that was long. I would say even more than a decade before. But always previous governments and ministers said and complained that kind of overall paradigm and belief that we cannot afford to compete with Kremlin, not even Kremlin these days, but these big, huge Moscow started channels, RTR, NTV, PBK, etc., because their budget is just so much bigger. So it's a bit like stupid to start to compete with them. And it was the overall rhetoric and in Excel phase. Then, of course, the like you also mentioned, this Crimean event was last trigger. And then this government or coalition government finally decided that no matter what, we have to do something. And then the decision was made somewhere in 2014. The money was given or kind of budgeted. And approximately 1.5 years or something took time preparations. And in the September, if I'm correctly, the December 26 of 2015, the ETV Plus Russian language channel was launched. So this was the kind of history before. As we did it, there was two details. One was that it wasn't totally from scratch from this point of view, that there was quite well met and watched Russian language news every evening, daily news, half an hour or something, plus all other things, debate shows, acquisitions, film, movies, everything was generated during this 1 year around it. And then second detail was that, of course, in the beginning, it was extremely small viewership, extremely small. And that was first, let's say, 2 years, even 3 years, there was constant debate from some part of politicians, mostly from conservatives, but also these kind of, let's say, economically oriented liberals that, okay, we spend several millions, but we still don't gain any readers, any viewers, readers, listeners. So in order to say that, okay, we're still wasting too much money and don't get anything back. So this kind of rhetorics was permanent during 2-3 first years. But everybody, every professional said that it takes time. You must be patient and please keep going.
Could you tell what was your approach to raise the audience to work on these numbers?
There was a lot of topics, rhetorics. We also changed chief editor at the path, tried different programs, which was very important. We also, not only for Russian, but also in Russian. In 2017, we also invested quite heavily into our analytics and monitoring. So we wanted to have and had the ability to get very good monitoring system. What is watched, when is watched, how is watched. So what is the motivation? So this, and we succeeded to get quite a good picture what's actually happening. Of course, we didn't see into brain of the viewers, but we monitored quite well how the audience behavior changing. Of course, there was different details. That if there is some big events, then these events generates the interest, and then this interest somehow remains. A very big help was COVID virus. When COVID was there, everybody was at home, and in Moscow, in PBK or RTR, there wasn't any detailed information about what restrictions are in Tallinn or Kohtla-Järve or Narva or Tartu. but it was daily basis in the ATV Plus, in Radio 4, in our Russian portal. And they discovered that, okay, it's good, we got get it. So it's a very practical one. The next sample just for you is that we also spend quite a lot of money for sport events. For example, very good comparison for Latvia. Ice hockey, as it is in Estonia, doesn't exist. Technically it exists, but nobody knows that. And the success is basically zero or minus. We still bought it quite cheaply because it was a big market, World Hockey Championships, and always minority Russian population, they love to watch, I don't know, Russia against Latvia or Russia against Canada or whatever, or United States. And we get enormous big numbers with these sport events. So it's these kind of things. And again, some of them stayed. Okay, not so bad channel at all. So just step to step, it took time, but nowadays there's a later on also question, but nowadays we reached, I would say, really good enough audience numbers. So last 3 to 4 years, nobody asks anymore by our politicians, except like your case, that is it worth to spend this 3 millions? Because this 4 millions is really like only 10% of our budget. And if our population of Russian population is 27% share in all audience, then, and we spent only 10% from our budget, then basically we are quite effective. And I would say that money well spent.
These are really good examples. Would you like to share also something that you introduced after this monitoring data and something that didn't work?
And I would say it's not even so important are the samples. Important is this mentality and this way how we proceed that. And then this way it's good. And the other thing, what is also very good and works, again, like I said, is local things. If there is local elections, both the national wise, but also the very local municipal elections, whatever you do, Perve Baltiiski, don't say, or RTR or Vremia, don't show what was Limbaži or Daugavpils election result. They don't do it because it's crazy if they would. But at the same time, we do. In Narva, in Tallinn, in Pärnu. So this way, again, people realize that, yeah, okay, I get this really news, what I don't get any of these Mother Russia channels. Plus, there is one extremely important detail. The biggest challenge or task was that to explain to our politicians, but also the to Estonian audience, that we are not doing counter propaganda. We are not anti-PBK. We are not anti-RTR. We do independent channel, and chief editor knows what he or she is doing. And it was quite hard because the politicians demanded, please, now we need special talk show where you're really starting to head into some Solovyov or Skabayeva show and you like a fight against that. We said, no, if we find that it's interesting, if chief editor finds that this kind of format is okay and it belongs into this set pattern, then it's okay. But we don't do anything about counter-propaganda. So we have independent, journalistically standard channel, exactly like ETV1 or ETV2. And nobody outsider don't tell what we should do. And it was quite hard to explain, especially if you don't have viewers neither. We went really against all odds, against all winds, and it was really complicated first 3-4 years.
Could you tell what happened after the full-scale invasion in Ukraine of Russia? How did it change the way the public and the politicians perceive ETV Plus? And how has the landscape changed in Estonia regarding the Russian-speaking media?
Before that, there was a decision, just very, very briefly before, because tensions was already up, and then there was it sounds a bit stupid, but I was absolutely sure on January that there will be attack, because the rhetoric was exactly like in Nazi Germany or in Franco or whatever. So it was exactly the same. There was the details when and how, but for me, it was clear. And also the stakeholders, and it was a decision was made in January that we shut down and pressure to put into telecoms and satellite, the cable operators, that they must shut down these Russian channels.
So this happened already before the war started?
This decision was made in January. And most of channels were already out of air already. And already January, also government and Minister of Culture and local Stratcom operations, they started to ask that, okay, when we shut down channels and close the information amount for the Russian audience, we should give something extra instead. Not less like in Latvian case, but more. And then really, really strange and kind of, how to say, bizarrely funny thing happened. afternoon, 23rd, I got a phone call from Ministry of Culture, Erik, but now next week we go to government to decide project, what extra money you need, what you do with the extra money, what kind of shows, what kind of debates, what kind of acquisitions, why you need this extra information money.
I'm sorry. So basically they said, we will give you more money.
Yes,
Just tell us what you are able to do.
But then said, okay, tomorrow we're national holiday. Everybody else, except the management, left already because it's like at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I said, I don't have anybody on tomorrow here, or Friday is also like between holiday and Saturday. So, okay, let's do this way that me and a few other management board members, we will prepare it right now. We took like half an hour. We had this, of course, we have previous materials already available, so we didn't have to discover anything. We just collected this Excel, collected these ideas, what we have had already long time, send it over. And it was 10 hours before Putin's invasion. We didn't know that in this moment. Next day, 25th of next day was total chaos. But 25th of Friday, 25th of February, 10 o'clock in the morning, government and decided we give everything what they asked because of this invasion. They gave exactly extra 2 million only for this purpose. If I would knew that, I would ask, I don't know, 3 times more, of course, but we didn't have any clue of that. So in this sense, and this extra 2 million we got last year, we got also this year, and right now there was a decision that this amount of extra money is written into our state budget next 4 years.
What was your proposal? What did you do? What were you able to do with those 2 extra million?
There wasn't any cheat. I mean, there was very concrete things. For example, we had very successful evening show, halfly entertaining, halfly news and the daily happening kaleidoscope every single day in ETV already many years from 7 to 8. So we wanted to have something like that in ETV Plus also. We will copy it in Russian and we will do it the same. Then there was second very, very interesting and good show. Every Monday evening in ETV, Estonian TV, there is this special bulletin of only addressed to foreign politics. Very viewed, very well, quite costly. We take material from Reuters, BBC, CNN, So this kind of really, really foreign news oriented. Plus, there was we also said that roughly 500,000 of 400,000 we will put to extra acquisition to have also films, movies, shows from Ukraine, from positive Russian language hemisphere, not to have just Kremlin then. Because what was challenge, there was also one of the questions. The challenge was that after the war, we had to cut off quite a big chunk of the Russian acquisition. Before the war, it was like so-and-so. But if there was war already broke in, then people went to be very, very careful, very kind of, even paranoid. If in the movie was once shown Red Army officer, then it was a very bad thing, despite it was just in the background. So these type of things we had to cut off. I don't know, even this 17 мгновений весны, this Stirlitz movie, we still have this right, but we don't show it because it's controversial. Technically, it's okay. I watch it and I love this movie because it was really different in Soviet time, but we don't show it today, just because quite big portion of audience, but also politicians who say, well, somehow you say that Red Army is good. Actually, it's not easy to find good content, which is neutral and positive also. Even Zelensky himself produced movies for Russia and shows. Zelensky, Kvartal, whatever number it was, made a show when they made joke about 9th of May, the Victory Day. But some can say that, okay, you're glorifying this Red Army victory, which is totally stupid. But we cannot just show it right now. So this is really like a daily job to monitor, to evaluate, to really to be in this edge.
It also corresponds what we have, like, for example, on the Latvian radio, we don't have the radio theater plays. We don't direct them with Russian heritage.
It happens monthly basis in Estonia. There was one more important detail when you asked about what was changed in the beginning of war or wider war. It was also the situation that especially Radio 4, but also ETV Plus was very pro-Ukrainian. So actually we lost, and they warned us. I mean, chief editors, they warned us we are still pro-Ukrainian. We are very against the Putin's invasion, and we will lose 10 to 15% of audience. And it happened because these very, very pro-Kremlin Russian citizens, we lost them because they just don't want to listen that Ukraine is right and Putin is wrong. But okay, it takes time, and now very, very slowly they are returning because this kind of paradigm overall world is changing. But still, we got a small setback.
What about the audience which was turned on the Kremlin channels? Did you get them after you closed down the RTR and other Russian Kremlin channels?
We gained more and more. So nowadays I have we got maybe 30 to 40% of increase during last year in ETV Plus. The ETV Plus is biggest Russian language channel today in Estonia. The case is that the Russian population, a bit simplified way, there is 3 categories of them. 1/3 is very, very, naturalized. Basically, in vast majority, they are pro-European. Then there is another edge, another corner, what they are really, really pro-Russian. They are a little bit hopeless. You don't change the mentality of a Red Army officer widow, 75 years old. It's hopeless. If they like it or she likes it, she can watch the news, but basically we don't make any extra efforts to get them. But for whom we fight, and as a kind of bit like controversial, not fight is not correct word, but whom we aim, and what is really our target is this middle sector between. They don't have any citizenship. They have so-called grey passports, non-aliens passports, and these are those for souls we fight, and we want to grab them into European side and to persuade them, to convince them that having Estonian passport, knowing better Estonian language, culture, it's good for country and for them personally. And I would say that we more or less succeeded.
Could you describe your competition? For example, Estonia Delphi has Russian section, and they had some part of government funding as well. So not only public media get support to talk to Russian-speaking audience in Russian.
2 things. First is this support. Support was it was a political decision that if we support public broadcaster with 2 million, then we have to give some money also to the private media. Postimees online, Delphi online, they both has Russian version. TV3, what is operating in Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, they also has this ETV3 Plus Russian. It's mainly movies, but still they exist and they get this audience. And then there is also Duo Media. They also launched, I think it was Duo 7 or something. So the landscape is really rich, where actually government could say, okay, 2 million for a public broadcaster, but 1 million or 1.5 also to spread, also newspapers, by the way, few new newspapers also in northeast of Estonia is existing, so-called Daugavpils area. So they all gained, not so much, but some also. If they presented their projects, their ideas, then they also was financed. And it's also, I think it also, in smaller extent, also covered in the short future. So we got 2 million, but they got something, I don't know, maybe it was 700,000 or 1 million also. So everybody gets something in order to be closer to the Russian audience. So it's, and it's not even ideological. Amount of channels what actually our Russian viewers or listeners or readers can consume per capita, per face is enormous. Maybe after 30 or 50 years, everybody speaking in Estonian, in Latvian, in Lithuanian. We don't need these channels, maybe, but now we need. It's simple as that. It's much cheaper to spend a couple millions for informing Russian than to fight with 50 or 500 millions. It's so simple. There is no need to even start to evaluate that ideologically, because already in the 5th class level, it's so obvious mathematically.
Thank you so much. That's a good quote.
Good.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, you too. Bye.
Sarunā ar Ēriku Rosi, Igaunijas sabiedriskā mediju vadītāju, mediju anatomijā runājām par Igaunijas TV un radio saturu krievu valodā. Raidījumu veidoja Zane Ozoliņa un Reinis Budze.
Uzķēršam, preparējam, aizšujam. Tāda ir mediju anatomija.